Okay, my name is Jacqueline Johnston, and I'm pleased to be here. I live in Sitmantouk. The meaning is the opening of rock, and the colonial name is Brookfield, Nova Scotia. I'm a mother of two, a daughter, a wife, an auntie, and godmom to many. I'm a recreational hockey player and a youth coach. And professionally, I'm the program manager with in the Atlantic region with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, known as CHF Canada. So I provide direct supports to co-ops in all four Atlantic provinces. I'm thrilled to be here today on behalf of CHF Canada to explore this topic that's gaining momentum across the country. Community land cooperatives. This workshop is called Building Sustainable and Scalable Communities Insight of Land Co-ops. So today you'll be hearing from three inspiring land co-op initiatives in the Atlantic region. Island Unity Land Co-op, located in PEI, New Brunswick Land Trust Cooperative, and Tidal Bay Community Land Co-op in Nova Scotia. We'll be exploring not just how these land co-ops are doing, but how they're navigating the challenges, leveraging strengths, and uncovering opportunities. These groups are doing something bold and visionary, reimagining how land and housing can be brought together collectively, sustainably, with that affordability. CHF Canada is proud to support their work and help amplify their voices. Let's try the clicker. Woo, it works. Good. So I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. I know we've started with one this morning and in many of the other presentations, but I'd like to acknowledge that we're in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. The land is governed by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship that was first signed with the British Crown in 1725. This treaty did not involve the surrender of lands. What was meant to be a foundation of and relationship of mutual respect and responsibility. So today we're gathered in Sitmantouk. The meaning is Great Harbor, colonially named as Halifax. And we recognize that many of us are joining from across Turtle Island. And we honor the diverse and Indigenous territories and nations that are represented in this physical space as well as in our online space. So I'd like to take a moment to share a story about this significant piece of artwork that you see on the picture on the screen. So through my work with Compass Nova Scotia Cooperative Homes, I had the privilege to support a new co-op housing development right here in the north end of Sitmantouk, an area with deep cultural, historical significance for both Black and Indigenous Nova Scotians. As soon as Compass Nova Scotia obtained the land, the board engaged directly with the community to shape the development in response to their needs of a place that was formerly a parking lot in the north end. As part of this engagement process, priority was given to applicants who self-identified as Black and or Indigenous and who lived or currently lived in the north end within that neighborhood. The development was named Unity North Neighborhood by community members, and it welcomed over 140 people into safe, secure homes. And that just happened this year, so congratulations. Thank you. The cooperative's objective is to provide housing and foster stability, inclusion, and long-term affordability, especially for those who have been historically excluded or displaced. So as part of the city's development requirements, there was a requirement to create a statue and sculpture art piece as part of that development initiative. So the board seen this as an opportunity to create something significant. We collaborated with Mi'kmaq artist Alan Sillaboy, and with conversations about the building, the vision, and how that would be, he chose the red crane as a central figure for that project, inspired by the two-star bride legend, where Crane found two sisters who were lost, and they ferried the two sisters across the river, helping them find their way back home. So the crane is curring and will turn the color red to symbolize protection, spirit, and return. The sculpture now stands as a physical representation of the cooperative's goal to build community. I believe that we can all recognize that housing is not just about shelter. It's about justice, belonging, and remaining rooted in place. So, thank you for listening to my personal land acknowledgement. Okay, so before we dive into the panel, I wanted to briefly introduce CHF Canada. So we're the national voice of the Canadian cooperative movement, representing over 1,000 members, which includes almost 900 nonprofit housing cooperatives. We are governed by a board of elected directors, and our mission is simple but powerful: to inspire, represent, and serve our members in a united cooperative movement. So we are here today because we believe in the power of cooperation, not just as a business model, but as a way to build resilient, inclusive communities. So today, my colleague Allison, who will be joining us soon, will be facilitating this discussion with you all. So I want to give a little bit more on my background. I've been with CHF Canada for over 5 years. I bring more than a decade of governance experience and work, and I'm excited to be part of this conference to learn more about land entities and so much innovation that's happening in this space. It's exhilarating. I've had the honor of supporting incorporation, strategic planning for several co-ops in Atlantic Canada, including Compass Nova Scotia, the Range Housing Cooperative, and the 3 land co-ops in which we're hearing from today. This work is deeply meaningful to me, both professionally and personally. Outside of my role with CHF Canada, I volunteer nationally as the Vice President of Rooftops Canada, an international development organization. Rooftops supports sustainable and inclusive housing through global partnerships and focuses on housing rights, gender equality, and climate resilience. So I'm here today not just to share, but to learn from you all. And I look forward to taking those ideas and perspectives back. I'm honored to introduce you to Allison Ferris. She's right over here, my colleague and friend, whose journey in the cooperative sector is grounded in both practical experience as well as strategic leadership. She was introduced to the co-op world by serving on a board at her co-op preschool. Later, she lived in a housing co-op in St. John while raising 2 young children on her own and studying business at the University of New Brunswick. These formative experiences ignited her passion in the housing sector and provide a strong foundation for long-term commitment to the sector. So she spent 18 years in working in property management with both co-ops and nonprofits and building that deep expertise in governance and organizational development. She served for 5 years on the CHF Canada board and is currently the regional manager for Atlantic Canada at CHF Canada, where she leads regional initiatives and supports co-ops through governance development, I should say, and change management. Her strategic insight and sector knowledge will bring value to today's discussion. Thank you, Allison. So when you read the description of this panel today, you might have thought, why is CHF Canada here? And part of that is the co-op housing for all. CHF Canada is part of a sector-led visioning process called Co-op Housing for All. The initiative is about imagining how co-op housing can grow to evolve to meet the needs of Canadians. It's about exploring new governance models, partnerships, with scalable solutions. Around the world, co-ops take many different forms and evolve the needs to meet Canadians. So, but at its heart, it's always about membership control, collective decision-making, and community resilience. So we can all have that correlation for that. So most co-ops were built in the 70s and 80s with mixed income models and deep government support. But we are now at a turning point where groups like the ones you'll hear from today are showing what's possible to think beyond those traditional co-op models. CHF Canada is actively supporting this work through strategic planning, incorporation support, governance support, or just by providing a little bit of advice along the way. It has been an honor to support members and scale their ambition with strengthened governance and build durable partnerships. These land co-ops are a direct result of that commitment. So I can't talk co-ops without sharing the cooperative principles. I believe it's been circled through a couple times today, so I'll be quick. So although these co-ops you'll hear from today are distinct, we all operate under the international cooperative principles. So from the curb, homes look like any other street address. It's what is on the inside that really matters. They guide CHF Canada's work every day, whether it's supporting new co-ops, advocating for policy change, or helping members navigate different processes. As land co-ops, they do uphold those 7 co-op principles to ensure the land remains protected, accessible, and governed by the people who care for it. So they include operating as a nonprofit basis, supporting mixed income communities, treating employees and service providers fairly, embracing diversity and inclusion, committing to that environmental sustainability, and ensuring a safe and dignified place to live. So many of us in the room are familiar with land trusts, and what makes land trust cooperatives unique is they're built on that cooperative governance. Land trust cooperatives are that unique hybrid model that combines long-term land protection with cooperative governance. So they're not just about protecting the land, they're about empowering communities to govern their housing, to ensure secure housing for generations. So what makes it distinct in the structure, of course, that it's cooperative, built on those values, that they hold the land in trust, removing it from the speculative market and securing it for community use. And we've been using the term a bit about sector-led, which is meaning that the governance is rooted in the co-op housing sector, with boards that include housing co-op delegates who represent and connect with the members. So a mechanism for that membership support. These co-ops in particular do not operate with permanent staff. Instead, they have contracted services like property management, governance support, development consultants. This allows them to stay lean, responsive, and maintain that community leadership. CHF Canada is proud to support this model, helping build governance and partnerships needed to make it work. And today's panel will explore more and what they are learning along the way. So with no further ado, I would love to introduce the panelists who are leading the change and the charge in land co-op development. So from Nova Scotia, we have Kim Wyman, Tidal Bay Community Land Co-op. Kim will share how Tidal Bay sets an example in Nova Scotia by aligning with policy framework and heritage preservation, paving the way for innovative and scalable community ownership. Kim's leadership is rooted in hands-on experience and a deep belief in community-driven solutions. Her contributions continue to shape the future of inclusive housing. From New Brunswick, we have Kit Hickey, from the New Brunswick Community Land Trust Cooperative, who will share with us how a land bank model can evolve into a province-wide solution, leveraging strategic partnerships and a charitable tool to expand their reach. Kit's decades of service and unwavering commitment to the housing equity makes her a pillar of the sector. Her voice today reflects a lifetime of impact. From Prince Edward Island, we have Angela Simpson highlighting how a provincial pilot can ignite community-led housing solutions, even in tightly regulated markets. Island Unity Land Co-op is an innovative response that can be replicated nationally and maintain its local flavor. Angela's voice is grounded in personal experience and fierce advocacy. Her insights remind us why cooperative housing matters, not just in policy, but in people's lives. Each of these panelists bring a unique perspective shaped by their local context, united by a shared commitment to community-led housing solutions. So I can't continue without noting that there's over 90 years of combined experience on this panel in the cooperative and community housing sector. So it's an honor to have them share their knowledge and lived experience. Now I will hand it over to Kim, who will speak first, followed by Kit and Angela.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be at the event. I attended last year in Vancouver, and I was inspired by the dedication and the commitment to build and secure affordable housing by the participants at last year's event. It felt very grassroots. It felt very comfortable. People were excited about what they were doing, and it was really wonderful to be part of it. And I'm very happy to be back this year and feeling very much the same. At one of the sessions this morning, someone said, how do you recharge? And I think attending these kinds of events is exactly what does that for you. While we, Tidal Bay, share many values and structures with our peers across Atlantic Canada, I just want to take a moment to highlight what makes Tidal Bay a little bit different. We are a community land cooperative, and we are rooted here in Halifax. I think that Tidal Bay, am I supposed to do these clicker here, Jacqueline? Can we just hold on? Sorry. I think that Tidal Bay was resourceful in establishing its leadership team. We drew on individuals, each with a unique and differing strength, with a desire to maintain and grow affordable housing is what drew us together. Tidal Bay is proud to be the first land cooperative formed in Atlantic Canada. That innovative spirit has shaped our approach, which is bold, collaborative, a little bit risky, and deeply rooted in community. In the spring of 2001, the Nova Scotia Affordable Housing Commission report was released, and the report examined the current state of affordable housing and provided recommendations. The recommendations had a goal of ensuring better affordable housing options and quality of life for all Nova Scotians. What I took away from this morning's session was that perhaps the report didn't address all Nova Scotians, and just some of us. Recommendation number 7 and 10. Recommendation 7 was to explore the community land trust model, and 10 was to address the need to build community housing capacity to strengthen and grow the affordability of community housing sector. CHF Canada and the network completed an application to the Community Housing Capacity Building Program to develop a community land trust model specifically for Nova Scotia. Oops, sorry. The research for this pilot included outreach initiatives with municipalities, organizations, and established cooperatives in Nova Scotia to determine the need for more affordable units. These engagement sessions allowed groups to share their thoughts on the proposed land trust model and provide feedback. was a valuable exercise for us because we were able to actually speak with municipalities, with other cooperatives about whether or not they thought a land trust model would actually work, and whether or not it would provide more affordable housing, and be something that they would be interested in their regions or areas. We had the we had an opportunity to speak directly about our ideas and get feedback from the participants. The report included a scan of 18 Canadian community land trusts, and we documented key aspects of each model, such as their missions and values, governance structure, membership, lease agreements, and strategic partnerships. In addition, one-on-one interviews were conducted, and we explored the strengths and weaknesses of each model, and most valuably, we captured lessons learned. These discussions were informed by prior consultation with Housing Nova Scotia staff from the Policy and Program Department to ensure that the model was aligned with specific needs of the priorities of Nova Scotia. This is what we found. So Tidal Bay Land Cooperative, we didn't just write the report, we actually acted on what we found out, and we created Tidal Bay Community Land Cooperative. We find that Tidal Bay is flexible and adaptive. We'll be able to adapt to future changes in government and in policies. I think historically what we found is that policies are created and we're creating around those policies. I think with Tidal Bay and the land trust model, we've created a model that's flexible enough that we can adapt to whatever might come to us in the future. We are able to create scale by aggregating housing assets, increasing access to capital by pooling resources and networks. We're able to focus on the importance of sustainability, and the land trust centralizes key functions such as asset management. I think historically, or what we're finding now, is that often our assets are not very well maintained, and through the land trust model, we're able to better manage that asset moving forward. Unit mix and community, we're able to provide a healthy unit mix, generating surplus, and then reinvesting that into our assets or into our communities. That might mean increasing the level of affordability for some members. And the CLT allows us to manage the portfolio of community housing assets, providing affordability and perpetuity to low and moderate income families. This becomes a solid option for mergers of existing housing, allowing autonomy and independence while still supporting growth. And I used the word stewardship at some point, and Dr. Jones, I apologize for that. Tidal Bay has been developing a way to catalyze the opportunities. We're able to respond to opportunities quickly, and I think that's really important as we move forward. So Tidal Bay was created. Our idea is to intentionally grow affordable housing, and we're doing that through our values, which are integrity, collaboration, inclusion, and perseverance. Our vision is to reimagine your housing and building it with strong communities. And so for us, it was looking at what can be done, what not necessarily what has been done in the past. So it's about new ideas. It's creating new ways of increasing the affordable housing portfolio in Halifax. Our current governance structure includes 3 founding directors, and Tidal Bay was incorporated in April of 2023 under the Nova Scotia Cooperative Associations Act through a collaboration with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, Community Housing Management, and New Commons Development. I think I said earlier that I'm pleased with the way in which we created Tidal Bay by drawing on the strengths of individuals. So we have CHF Canada, we have the network. So certainly CHF Canada is the cooperative movement and provides us with governance. The Community Housing Management Network is a management company that's been operating in the Nova Scotia area since 2011, and New Commons Development is developing housing cooperatives and nonprofits across the country. Tidal Bay Community Land Cooperative exists to create lasting solutions to the community housing sector by transforming how housing assets are owned and managed. And by owning land and housing, Tidal Bay ensures that these assets remain in the community hands for the long term. We help cooperatives thrive by providing stable, secure access to housing while also supporting innovation, sustainability, and equity in the way homes are developed and lived in. Our work is about more than buildings. It's about creating spaces where people feel connected, supported, and proud to belong. We're trying to create communities. Our structure and governance. So our ownership, Tidal Bay owns and manages the land and buildings to ensure long-term affordability and sustainability. It's about caring for our assets. Local governance. So each cooperative community will have its own board. They'll be responsible for governance, budgeting, membership, and appointing a delegate to Tidal Bay. We did acquire a couple of buildings a year and a half ago now. Those, our intention is to make or to encourage the tenants in those buildings to become cooperative members. We're not quite there yet. We had hoped that we would do it within the first year. It took us a little bit longer. It's taking us a little bit longer to get to it than we had hoped. But we are actually meeting with those tenants in October. And that will be our opportunity to talk to them about their communities, what they like, what they'd like to see changed, and the possibility of cooperative housing. Our governance model includes two classes of membership, individual and organizational, and this ensures that local co-ops have a voice through appointed delegates. Okay, and this is the fun stuff. So the founding members of Tidal Bay didn't want to lose the housing stock or affordable units. And so our first two acquisitions were not just buildings, they were historic landmarks located in the towns of New Glasgow and Pictou. A former school and a convent, both over a century old, were owned privately under an affordable housing agreement that was coming to an end with no obligation to remain affordable. So we were concerned about the fact that these affordable units could be sold on the private market, and we would actually not only lose the affordable units, but we were concerned about the individuals living in those units and what was going to happen to them if a private landlord purchased the buildings. So the top left is 334 Temperance Street in New Glasgow. It was originally built in 1894 and was used as a school until 2014. After it was decommissioned, it was acquired and transformed into a multifamily residential building, preserving its historic character while serving as a vital housing resource. It has 65 homes, 39 are considered affordable as they're under the median market rent for the area. On the lower left is 159 Dunoon in Pictou, which was originally constructed in 1874. It was formerly known as Stella Maris Convent. It operated as a convent school until 1970, then housed offices, a daycare, and residences for the sisters in the area. In 2011, it was converted into a multi-residential property, blending history with modern living. It houses 20 units, with 12 being considered affordable. The first time I went to see this property in particular, Karen had said to me, "Wait till you see upstairs." And we went into the building, and the hallways are incredibly wide, and there's chandeliers hanging all down the hallways. And I'm like, "This is beautiful. This is an amazing place for people to live." Together, these properties provide 85 residential units, with 51 designated as affordable housing to support the community's needs. We are currently preparing to break ground on a new 27-unit development in Pictou, and we're actively exploring other opportunities across Nova Scotia. So this is our newest project. It's all a little bit scary. Um, and we've been working with this one on for almost a year now. And so we're hoping that very soon we'll see this build come to. As far as lessons learned, I would say with the two properties that we acquired, and the tenants that are in those units, I think that we could have done a better job, I think, at engaging those tenants. and talking to them about becoming members. So I think that we should have done that a little bit sooner. For me, that's one of the lessons. But it's surprising, and I think you heard things this morning in certainly the session I attended, but it's surprising how much work is actually involved and how much time you spend. So I think we all think we can do more than we can in a short period of time. So go easy on yourself when you're doing it. And I think that risk. So things will never align perfectly. If we want to build more affordable housing, I think sometimes we have to take a little bit of risk. Don't go crazy. But at the same time, it won't be perfect and things will happen along the way. Our goal is to build more affordable housing under the CLT model in Nova Scotia. And we're also hoping to help create communities and build more homes. Thank you.
Okay, I have to admit right up front, technically, I'm quite challenged. Oh, there, look at that. So I'm Kit Hickey. I'm on the board of directors of the New Brunswick Community Land Trust Cooperative and serve as secretary treasurer. In my day job, I'm the executive director of Housing Alternatives, which is a private nonprofit organization that provides management and development services to housing cooperatives and nonprofits in New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. I've worked in the sector for over 42 years. Obviously, I'm the one that contributes the heaviest weight to the 90 years of experience. I didn't think it was necessary to bring that up, but so I do remain committed to helping create more affordable housing opportunities. And it certainly has been a privilege to be involved in this land trust. And what this model means to the province of New Brunswick. And I have to say a huge thank you to Karen Brador, Kim Wyman for Tidal Bay, because that experience and all of the efforts that went into that certainly benefited us in New Brunswick. So I'm really excited to share some of the things that we're doing in New Brunswick. And we're fairly new, incorporated, and we incorporated under the New Brunswick Cooperative Associations Act. And our primary mission is to foster the development of sustainable mixed income communities by acquiring land and buildings to transform them into affordable housing units. This will be through creating new developments, intensifying or redeveloping existing sites, and increasing operational efficiencies. Through these efforts, we are committed to creating a more inclusive and sustainable housing landscape in New Brunswick. So, where did the CLTC come from? In St. John, we had established a land bank, and that was established in 2017 as a not-for-profit organization that was aimed at revitalizing urban areas that were falling into decay, obviously had been neglected in St. John. And unfortunately, in St. John, we have some of the oldest housing stock in the country, certainly east of Montreal, and many neighborhoods, 5 actually, priority neighborhoods that were suffering. So in partnership with Envision St. John, we received some funding through CMHC and Social Innovation Fund that had been created by the province of New Brunswick, which enabled us to acquire some vacant properties in some of these neighborhoods to be held for disposition for development that was going to provide affordable housing or housing that was going to be beneficial to those neighborhood. So one of our notable successes was the development of a 14-unit building. And that was in partnership with Unified St. John Housing Cooperative, a 14-unit housing co-op that was developed during the pandemic. So that was lots of fun, but it was also part of our revitalization efforts in this community of which is the north end of St. John. So the land bank was working quite effectively in St. John, but was it going to be suitable throughout the province? We figured it probably wasn't. The conditions were not the same in every other municipality throughout the province. So we looked towards the development of a community land trust. So the land bank's job was to hold land until it was going to be transferred for use within these neighborhoods. It was not to hold on to it. So the land bank, working in partnership with Karen, decided that a land trust was necessary, and that we should look at doing it provincially rather than just St. John. So we worked in partnership with a number of housing sector partners and CHF Canada. So why did the land bank support the incorporation of a land co-op? We thought housing costs, we were seeing housing costs rising everywhere. If we wanted affordable homes to stay affordable, not just today, but for generations, we needed to take land off the speculative market. And that's exactly what a community land trust does. It holds land in trust in community hands permanently. By forming as a cooperative, we're putting shared ownership and democratic decision-making right at the center. That means the people affected most by housing pressures have a real voice in shaping solutions. So this isn't just about bricks and mortar, it's about dignity, stability, and ensuring New Brunswick families don't have to choose between rent and food. So over the time, the land bank realized that to truly protect affordable housing, it needed a more permanent, flexible structure. And so that's where the land trust came in. So the aim of our land co-op is to see projects through from acquisition to long-term stewardship. That's that bad word that we're using throughout the day. With the opportunity for scale, which builds sustainability. Become an agile entity that can acquire and hold land for affordable housing. Support housing co-ops and nonprofits that are struggling financially or organizationally. We are working on mechanisms where existing nonprofits or co-ops can have a seat at the board of the land trust co-op to continue to be part of the entity without the day-to-day complexities. We are hoping to be in a position to provide charitable receipts for land donations or even home building locations, ensuring that they will stay affordable. Our charitable registration is in the application phase right now, so we're quite optimistic that it will be approved. We're also looking to our provincial government to accept any surplus lands through them, and so which will keep those in community hands and not out for speculation for redevelopment. So while the land bank began in St. John, the challenges of housing affordability, vacant land, and struggling housing organizations are not unique to just one city. And that's part of the reason the vision to expand the land trust across New Brunswick happened. So as a province-wide land trust, we can support rural and urban communities alike, adapting to local needs. And so in New Brunswick, much the same as Nova Scotia, a large part of the province is quite rural. We will create a network of affordable housing stewards, sharing resources and expertise. We will have the ability to respond quickly to opportunities, whether it's a donated home in the Miramichi or a government property in Moncton. We'll build partnerships with co-ops, nonprofits, municipalities, and Indigenous communities, ensuring inclusive and equitable development. We'll also strengthen housing resilience across the province, making sure affordability isn't just a city issue, it's a New Brunswick priority. So, how was it created? Local leaders, which sat on the land bank board of directors, saw the need for something bigger, something province-wide. The idea was simple: build on what's already working and give communities across the province a tool to protect land for affordable housing. So the directors on the Community Land Trust represent several community stakeholders, including Housing Alternatives, my organization, the Housing Hub of New Brunswick Nonprofit Housing Association, St. John Land Bank, St. John Nonprofit Housing, and Housing New Brunswick. CHF Canada provided in-kind services to support the strategic planning, organizational structure, and incorporation process. Early this year, the St. John Land Bank was successful in receiving capacity funding from New Brunswick's Regional Development Corporation to operationalize the entity. CHF Canada is now under contract to support governance with our growth initiative. So this is not just an empty boardroom project, it's people around the table. Municipal leaders are showing up too, because they hold the keys to land, zoning, and surplus sites. And of course, equity seeking and community groups are front and center. If the trust doesn't reflect the people it serves, then we've missed the point. What makes this exciting is that everyone brings different strengths: policy, land, financing, grassroots organizing, and together we're building something no one could do alone. So, what's next? As I mentioned, we're officially incorporated and we're moving from vision to action. In the coming year, we'll scan for potential sites. That's an ongoing process. We've been doing that. Peter with the New Brunswick Nonprofit Housing Association is bringing them to us on a daily basis, actually. So we're looking to secure some quick close acquisition funds and launch 2 to 3 pilot projects. This isn't just about acquiring land, it's about building community-driven partnerships. Every project will be co-created with local groups to reflect their unique needs and values. We're also streamlining our growth through a new initiative focused on building internal capacity, expanding partnerships, preparing for province-wide impact. By 2026, we aim to acquire our first assets, which can be obtained through donated homes, government-owned land, and properties from housing organizations seeking support. Land is more than a commodity. It's a foundation for a community. Our goal is to support a land trust that serves all of New Brunswick, supporting both urban and rural communities. So what's next? Let's take a look at how we're planning to grow. We're very excited to share that a memorandum of understanding has been signed, and a New Brunswick housing cohort has been created with 4 provincial entities supporting the development and sustainability of community housing. We have joined New Brunswick Collaborative Housing Cooperative, New Brunswick Nonprofit Housing Association, Housing Hub of New Brunswick to form a powerful partnership called the New Brunswick Community Housing Alliance. 4 organizations, 1 shared mission, safe, inclusive, at-cost housing. So just as a note of interest, our alliance, led by Peter, submitted to the Build Canada Homes marketing growth a couple of weeks ago. And our housing minister, our provincial housing minister, actually wrote a letter of support because we're very closely aligned with our provincial housing strategy, and was shopping our submission in Vancouver at the FPT Housing Ministers meeting. So we're very pleased about that. So we continue to explore how and where we can work together. We're brainstorming ideas and developing ideas for collaboration. So with a shared commitment to housing equity, community building, and long-term sustainability, our goal is to create a framework for cooperation, growth, and resource sharing, all with the goal of a stronger, more inclusive housing system for New Brunswick. So I ask you to stay tuned for updates as this exciting partnership develops. So thanks very much for being here today and inviting me here today. This is my first time at this summit. It's been amazing, so informative. I really have learned so much. So we believe very strongly that our NBCLTC, it can become a powerful force for safe, inclusive, at-cost housing in New Brunswick. By building understanding of this model and sharing it beyond our sector, we can continue to inspire partnerships, spark innovation, and move closer to our shared vision of housing that truly serves our communities. Thanks very much.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Angela Simpson, and I'm president of Island Unity Land Cooperative in Prince Edward Island. I'm deeply passionate about housing, cooperatives, and the power of community. As a proud Islander, this project holds personal significance for me. It's not just about buildings or land, it's about creating lasting solutions that reflect our values and needs of our neighbors. I'm especially grateful as a volunteer to be a part of this movement that's reshaping how we think about housing, and I'm honored to share our journey with you here today. The decision, technology and I don't agree either, the decision to adopt a land cooperative model was driven by the urgent need to create permanent, community-controlled housing solutions in Prince Edward Island. Incorporated in January 2025, Island Unity Land Co-op is positioned to offer strategic responses to the province housing crisis by preserving land for community benefit, which we're holding land and housing assets in perpetuity, ensuring that they remain protected from market speculation and private profit motives. It prevents displacement, Residents are safeguarded from being priced out or evicted due to rising costs or property sales to investors. It protects affordable housing stock, prevents existing units from being sold to real estate investment trusts, REITs, or private developers, and it maintains affordability for future generations. It provides local control and decision-making. It empowers communities to make decisions about land use and housing development based on the local needs and values. It provides rent stabilization. It offers a buffer against rapid increases that outpace income growth. Even in regulated environments like Prince Edward Island, where rent caps are in effect, it can be tailored to smaller markets and provides housing security in regions like PEI where the vacancy rates are critically low, around 1%, and where the market pressures are intense. Island Unity Land Co-op didn't emerge in isolation. It was part of a broader strategic initiative called the Community Housing Expansion Project, or CHEP, which was launched by the province of Prince Edward Island. Now that we've explored the rationale behind Island Unity's formation, let's look at how this vision was supported and scaled through CHF Canada and this provincial initiative. As part of Prince Edward Island's Community Housing Expansion Project, 3 organizations were selected through a competitive process to lead innovative community housing-based solutions: CHF Canada, King Square Nonprofit Housing Corporation, and the Canadian Mental Health Association, PEI division. Together, this cohort is advancing a new model for permanently affordable housing in the province. With the support of strategic partners like New Commons Development and New Market Funds, CHF Canada facilitated the creation of Island Unity Land Cooperative that is entirely island-owned and controlled. And in July of 2025, Island Unity successfully acquired 57 housing units in Summerside, preserving them as community-owned assets under this land co-op model. This acquisition marks a significant milestone in the region's housing strategy, demonstrating how collaborative, community-led approaches can deliver long-term affordability, local control, and housing security in a province facing critical vacancy shortages. Island Unity's creation represents a shift from fragmented, project-based housing efforts to sustainable community-led planning. It stands as a powerful example of how cooperative values, solidarity, democratic governance, and long-term stewardship can address urgent housing needs while building resistant communities and resilient communities. With a mission to create opportunities for individuals to thrive in a cooperative community by fostering a foundation of safe, secure, supported, and stable collectively owned housing assets, our co-op is looking to create opportunities for individuals to thrive. Island Unity is more than a housing provider. It's a platform for long-term stability, empowerment, and equity. This mission directly aligns with the Land Trust Co-op model, which ensures that housing assets are collectively owned and permanently removed from speculation or from speculative markets. By holding land in trust, we protect affordability, not just for today's residents, but for the future generations. Our vision is to be recognized as a community solution, ensuring housing is not a barrier by fostering long-term, scalable success through strategic partners, engagement, and collaboration, one that removes housing as an economic barrier. Again, this is especially critical in regions like PEI, where the vacancy rates are low and the market pressures are high. This land co-op model allows us to scale responsibly, ensuring that growth is rooted in community needs, not in investor returns. What makes our model exceptional is the ability to combine permanence with flexibility. It's permanent in its protection of land and affordability, yet flexible enough to adapt to evolving housing needs through strategic partnerships and self-governance. Our core values are education, innovation, and transparency, empowering our community through knowledge, creative thinking, and open communication. These values ensure that our members are informed, our solutions are creative, and our operations are open and accountable. These values are not just guiding principles, they're the tools we use to build trust, foster leadership, and sustain impact. In short, Island Unity's strategic direction is a blueprint for how land co-ops can lead the way in transforming housing in from commodity into a community asset. Island Unity offers a range of benefits that go beyond affordability. These are the outcomes of a model that is intentionally designed to serve people and not profits. At cost. At its core, Island Unity is an at-cost housing provider. That means every dollar goes back into the maintaining and improving the housing stock, not just to shareholder returns. This ensures that affordability is preserved for the long term of our members. And they're designed at levels to be accessible because we're not driven by market rates. Housing charges are set based on what it actually costs to operate the housing, covering maintenance, replacement reserves, and services, making it more predictable and sustainable for our members. The land co-op model ensures long-term housing stability and that it remains in community hands permanently. Residents aren't at risk of displacement due to sales or redevelopment, which is especially important in high-pressure markets. It's about strong community focus. It's not just about the buildings, it's about the people. Island Unity fosters a sense of belonging and shared responsibility, which strengthens the social fabric of the communities we serve. We offer professional support services. While the residents will eventually govern their own housing co-ops at the community level, Island Unity provides centralized support, ensuring that each site has access to professional property management, government tools, and benefits from strategic planning. We also provide ethical and principled leadership. I think I'm on the right slide. Yes. Our leadership is guided by cooperative values, solidarity, equity, and transparency. This builds trust and ensures that decisions are made with the community's best interests in mind. Sustainable growth plans, because Island Unity holds the land and assets in trusts, we can take a long-term view. We're not just reacting to today's needs, but we're planning for the future generations with a model that can scale responsibly across the province. And ultimately, the vision is that housing cooperatives will operate at the community level, where residents manage their own homes and shape their own communities. Meanwhile, Island Unity, as the land co-op, will maintain ownership of the land and the buildings, ensuring that they remain protected, affordable, and aligned with cooperative values. This layered approach, local governance supported by centralized leadership, stewardship, again, the bad word, is what makes the land co-op model so powerful. It combines the best of both worlds, community empowerment and long-term security. The government of PEI supported the creation of Island Unity because it offers long-term solutions to a housing affordability. By removing land from speculation and placing it in trust, the province can ensure that housing remains accessible and community-led. Island Unity is structured to grow. As it acquires more assets, it can support housing cooperatives across the province. This layered model, local governments supported by centralized asset management, is what makes it both scalable and resilient. As we reflect on the evolving landscape of community-led housing, there's an emerging opportunity to think beyond individual projects. Imagine a framework where, a provincial-led housing co-op that could serve as a supportive backbone for local initiatives. This kind of structure could help scale impact, streamline operations, and even offer a pathway for existing nonprofits or co-op housing co-ops to come together under a shared vision. It's a concept still in its early stages, but one worth exploring as we consider how to build these resilient, inclusive housing ecosystems across communities. Success in a land co-op model depends on more than just funding. It requires strong governance, deep partnerships, and a clear commitment to community. Island Unity is built on these pillars. Our board and management team ensures transparency and accountability. Our partnerships bring expertise and resources. Our development strategy is designed to grow sustainably, adapting to changing needs while maintaining affordability. I am pleased to share that we acquired our first co-op homes in July of this year, and the property is located in Summerside, about 25 miles outside of about 25 miles from Charlottetown for most of you who don't know the area very well. And today, we're spotlighting a critical housing initiative like this project is powerful example of how community-led housing can intervene in a market trend that threatens affordability and stability. These homes were acquired from a real estate development trust or REIT, a move that prevented them from being condominiumized. A growth issue in PEI where developers purchase apartment buildings and then sell them off individually. This practice displaces tenants and erodes long-term affordability. Instead, through the Community Housing Expansion Pilot, CHEP, led by the province in partnership with CHF Canada, these homes were secured for community ownership. The acquisition ensures the units remain at cost, nonprofit, and accessible to seniors, family, and the local workforce. The project cost was $10.1 million. The provincial grant contribution was $4.16 million. Equity contribution was $1 million from new market funds. And our affordability targets are 44 to 50% of the average median income. Status of the property upon purchase was that the units were already occupied and the people living in the units now have a safe and secure home. This is not just a housing project. It's a strategic intervention in a volatile market. It demonstrates how cooperative and nonprofit housing can preserve affordability, prevent displacement, and build community resilience. It's one that can be replicated across Atlantic Canada and beyond. Oh. I'm lost here on the slides, man. As we close, I want to leave us with a vision rooted in stewardship and collaboration. What if communities had the ability to collectively hold land, not just for today's housing needs, but for future generations? A land co-op offers that possibility, a way to protect land from speculation, anchor affordability, and empower local decision-making. Housing co-ops and nonprofits could then plug into this framework, supported by shared infrastructure and values. It's not just about homes, it's about building a foundation for long-term resilience and equity. Let's keep imagining what's possible together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was great. Now I am going to try to figure out how to back up a couple of slides. There we go. All right. Technology is my friend. Thank you very much. What a great set of presentations. Really appreciate all of the information that you've shared with us this afternoon. So thanks to each of you, to each of our panelists for sharing their experience and expertise. Each of you is deploying the Land Trust Co-op model, and each of you has brought a unique lens to its implementation. So Island Unity has shown how a provincial pilot can be a catalyst for community-led housing in a tightly regulated markets like PEI. The New Brunswick Community Land Trust Co-op has demonstrated how a land bank origin can evolve into a province-wide solution with charitable tools and strategic partnerships. And Tidal Bay has pioneered policy alignment in Nova Scotia and heritage preservation, setting a precedent for innovation and scale. These distinct approaches for the land trust co-ops are not a one-size-fits-all. They're adaptable, resilient, and deeply rooted in local context. They offer a powerful blueprint for how we can build permanently affordable, authentic, community-driven housing solutions, not only across the Atlantic, but the entire country. The urgency of adopting these land trust cooperatives is underscored by the rising housing costs and limited supply across the country. Cooperative land trust co-ops offer long-term, values-driven solutions. They align with public policy goals, and they address community needs. They provide a framework for housing equity, economic resilience, and social sustainability. So thank you again for your leadership and inspiring us with what's possible. We're going to move into a few questions for our panelists, and then hopefully we'll have some questions from the floor, and we'll do a quick wrap up. I am keenly aware that I am standing between this group and Curtis, or those of you who are in this room this morning. I think he was referred to as the Messiah. Is that barbecue? So I do not want to be the barrier for being late for that. So we do have a couple of questions, and I think I'll start with Kit. So how do you balance centralized asset management with local autonomy for the housing co-op?
Thanks, Al. So I think with the cooperative, it's open membership. And so if there are community members, board members, residents that are interested, they're certainly welcome to apply for partnership. Additionally, what the practice that Housing Alternatives has always had in place excuse me, is to work in partnership with other social service agencies, suppliers. And so we're certainly going to look to local suppliers for any maintenance related items, lawn care, snow removal, look to local contracts for janitorial, maintenance, plumbing, that type of thing.
Great, thank you. Kim, I noticed during your presentation, one of the things you talked about was your assets currently are in rural communities in Nova Scotia. And so, just wondering what some of the key conditions that make a community land trust co-op model scalable in small rural communities.
I think that the two properties that we have are relatively close together. And I think the advantage for us in that way is that both properties are managed by the Community Housing Management Network. So they have the same management services. So we're able to share things between the two properties. As the land trust owns both the properties, we can share snow removal services. It's once we find a contractor that works fairly well for us, we can use that contractor in both locations. So I think that's the biggest piece for us. And I guess I would say local connections, but the two properties are actually not all that local to one another, and there are differences. So I think some of the strengths are community and connections, but I guess recognizing as well that there are some differences, and being mindful of that.
Thanks, Kim. And Angela, I'm not leaving you out because I do also have a question for you. One of the things I was intrigued about was the partnerships that you talked about in your presentation and how Island Unity sort of came out of the community housing expansion pilot from the Prince Edward Island government. So I'm just curious, what partnerships have been most critical to your success and how were they formed?
So definitely CHF Canada, local government, and also other nonprofit housing providers are definitely some of the key partnerships that have been formed. And without all three organizations coming to the table and bringing their own different strengths, the PEI government for wanting to create affordable housing on the island, especially in a more streamlined structure, CHF Canada with their vast knowledge of cooperatives and land cooperatives, and other nonprofits with their strengths that they bring to the table. Without them, none of this would have been possible.
That's great. Thanks, Angela. So wondering if we have some questions from the floor? Okay.
Thank you very much for sharing. I've been involved with the cooperative movement for a very, very, very long time. And in fact, some of the cooperatives we did in the 70s, different type, not housing cooperatives, for example, like a Metro, whatever, for persons with disabilities, is still operating from initiatives we did in the 70s, the Black Community Investment Fund, which just closed up this year, but it operated as a cooperative. Anyway, I say that to say we tried not very successfully with the housing cooperatives. There was a couple of cooperatives that were established at that time. But our problem was with the definition of affordable, what is affordable? And I would suspect it's not much different today. So the Black community was not in a financial position even to be involved in the cooperative housing movement as much. So when you talk about affordable, what are you talking in terms of income levels?
Are you all throwing that back to me? Thank you for that insightful question. And you know, that's a challenge that it's a conversation we have quite frequently. And in fact, even this afternoon out in the hallway, my colleague Karen Brodeur and I had the exact same conversation with Curtis. So you know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. There's no question about it. There are different levels of affordability, and when we use that term so loosely, it clearly doesn't. It's clearly not inclusive. So yeah, I think we need to do a little bit more work on that, and affordability can mean different things for different people, and they, you know, definitely can also create barriers and exclusions. So you know, there's different bits of advocacy that I think we're going to follow through with. And Kit, do you want to add to this as well? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So I think I know the trend in New Brunswick when the housing co-op development was in its heyday in throughout the 80s, were smaller organizations scattered throughout the city and renovating older buildings, some new construction, but it was recognized after a couple of decades that something significant had to shift. The 9 separate housing co-ops in St. John amalgamated, merged into one to become Unified St. John Housing Co-op, which made it assured us of their long-term success, their long-term ability to provide affordable housing, and that housing is affordable to low to moderate income families, singles, senior citizens. And the, you know, so there are rent geared to income units, subsidy available, but all of the rents are at low end of market, quite low end in St. John. But one of the reasons that we are looking at creating these provincial associations is to ensure that by bringing those numbers together, that affordable housing is going to be available to all, and it will be available, affordable housing for a low to moderate income range.
So we've got a couple.
Right. Thank you very much. My name is Ike Mwibe. I'm here in my capacity as a board member of Parkdale Neighborhood Land Trust. But for work, I work with an organization called Transition House. It's the only homeless shelter service provider in Northumberland County in Ontario. So my question is, how do you balance making housing available with eviction prevention and residents meeting up with the expectations on their part? Thank you.
So as I had mentioned earlier, we have been working in partnership with social service agencies for many, many years now. In the event that there are issues, folks are on the verge of being evicted, we will work with the family, the resident, to see that any services that they may need are brought to them. We don't necessarily provide the services, but our partner organizations do. And so we work very hard. We're very diligent about doing as much as we possibly can to avoid eviction. And that's working with other organizations.
I'm hearing a theme all day today, and it's partnerships, community partnerships is a strong theme. Okay, we've got a question back here, and I think.
Yeah,
then one
good
from here.
afternoon again. Bernadette Hamilton Reed, eighth generation African Nova Scotian here in Mi'kma'ki, Executive Director for DPED, Decade for People of African Descent. My question is the composition of your boards. Speaking as an African Nova Scotian, wondering what your, because if we're not at the table, we're not thought about. And I know Brunswick and PEI especially have a smaller population than Nova Scotia does have of people of African ancestry. And I'm talking about not just Africans, Nova Scotian, but also our Caribbean and our people from the diaspora. And whether or not you're thinking about them. And I know I'll say PEI New Brunswick, it's mainly a larger immigrant population that is coming because of the schooling there. So are they included around your table as board of directors or people that are thought about for your housing initiatives?
I think any one of you can jump in.
Well, our board is only 3 members at the moment for Island Unity, as we're still new, but as we branch out into creating the cooperative aspect of the Island Unity Land Cooperative, where the members actually become members of the housing co-op, then we'll look at who the members are in the building, and they get to choose who's at that table by voting for the members on the board. So we will choose the board out of the members who currently live in the building. And I'm not sure of what that demographic is at the moment myself personally. Well, first we're going to start having community meetings within the building so they know what are cooperatives, what they're joining. And then once we see who the members are, we'll provide the same information. We'll offer information packages as to who we are, what we do. And we will talk to members. We'll have our management team, the CHF staff as well. We'll go into the building and be there as part and ask people what they do, what their needs are, what they need to be at the table, what do they need to be able to be represented. We will ask those questions out of the members who live in the building, again, unsure of what the demographic is.
Thank you for that feedback. Very important.
Oh, sorry.
So if you're referring to the Board of Directors of the New Brunswick Community Land Trust, yes, certainly we're very cognizant of that. At this point in time, the Board of Directors is made up of representatives from those 4 provincial associations. And as we continue to, or as we start to acquire and continue to develop, the membership will be open to that community at large.
I think for Tidal Bay, again, in the early stages, we have 3 founding members on the board right now. Each organization has 1 representative. Once we meet with our tenants, which I think I indicated was happening in October, we're going to talk to them about becoming members rather than tenants, but we're just not at that stage yet.
I'm Leo from Montreal. I represent community of Milton Park, which is the largest co-op housing co-op project in Montreal, actually one of the very first in North America since the 1970s. Over 1,500 residents are part of the co-ops. Anyways, my question is around the question of intergenerational residents. What's your position on intergeneration? Because I'm using more the European model where in many housing projects, seniors are actually coupled with students in similar accommodations so that seniors can have a more independent lifestyle until a much older age. So I'm just wondering what your thinking is on that. And the second question was around Indigenous communities, because in Montreal, we have specific communities, mostly Inuit, and we have been developing specialized housing units for the Inuit and other Indigenous communities because they have specific needs. So I'm just wondering if that's also part of your thinking of the future.
Again, no, we aren't there yet, but I think we'd be absolutely open to developing cooperative housing anywhere. And I actually love the idea of seniors being partnered with youth. Allowing them to stay in their homes longer with assistance is amazing.
So I will just add on our Community Land Trust Board of Directors, we will have representation from the Indigenous community. We have an organization that develops housing off reserve for rural and native housing, and so we will have representation on the board. And with we're seeing that organically evolve with the intergenerational or multi-generational housing. And certainly it's something that is on the radar of a housing co-op in St. John and developing a new project for aging in place.
I think we have the last question.
Sure,
today.
thanks.
Thank you.
Michelle Cooper-Iverson from Co-op Housing Federation in BC and our community land trust out there. And I would just comment to this speaker in terms of, diversity in cooperatives. I've worked in the sector for 18 years, and I'm usually the only Black person that's either going to a co-op. And I've often had to say to our co-op members, diversity is not different parts of Europe. And if you're going to use a community land trust model, which is rooted in Afrocentricity, I do think, in my opinion, that the partnership needs to start at the incorporation. And I know that we want to partner with the money, we want to partner with the housing, but there is a role in partnering at the start with different community members so that the people around the table that are in decision-making power are diverse. So I just want to say that. And it has to be intentional. And we have to be very careful that as a community land trust network, we don't whitewash what was an Afrocentric original design in the first place.
Thank you for that. I think we're going to close now because we are just about, I think, 4:27. But I do just want to reiterate that your comments have been heard, and we will take them back. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's input, and our commitment is moving forward to definitely incorporate this feedback that we've heard today. So thank you very, very much.